ChatGPT is everywhere these days, all over the internet. It's in your phones, it's in your television screens, it's everywhere because the robots are taking over. Well, not really. I figured it would be worth taking a look at the ways that AI can be used to help indie authors. So here's my ultimate writer's guide to ChatGPT and the AI problem which we're all talking about but no one has any answers to because, well, the robots are listening. In what follows, I've focused on a few key areas, and I'll attempt to assess the viability of each against the following criteria. Number 1, will this save time? Number 2, will this help me do something I really don't want to do? Number 3, do I feel that this is taking something away from the craft of writing? Are the robots after my job? So let's get to it. Farming ideas for a new novel. Now this isn't something I'd normally need help with, but I know a lot of budding writers struggle at the idea stage of a new novel. So I decided to see how the robots could help. So I asked, can you give me some ideas for a novel I want to write with an urban fantasy thriller vibe, dark magic, a female protagonist, and crime elements? And the ideas the robots came back with was stupid. Stupid good! Right off the bat, we've got suggested titles, a central plot idea with a hook, intriguing propositions, and some story basics to get the ideas flowing.
A powerful witch who is long hidden from a dark past is drawn into a magical world where a series of ritual murders shakes the city. A group of witches with different magical specialities team up to stop a powerful criminal organization that's using dark magic to control the city.
Now this first raft of ideas was a little too witch heavy for my liking, so I decided to focus in a little. I asked, can you focus on a protagonist who uses a demon artifact to wield magic? And here's the response. Again, there were some great suggestions here. Not enough to build a whole novel, but a great premise or two that you could use to begin mapping out your story. Yes, there are a lot of cliches and common tropes in here, and the ideas aren't particularly unique. But as a springboard to generate ideas and get your brain ticking over, this is fantastic. Does it save time? Yes. Will this help me do something I don't really want to do? In my case, no, but for others, I can see how this would be hugely beneficial. Do I feel this is taking something away from the craft of writing? No. Ideas come to us from all sorts of places. Conversations, film, TV shows, other novels, paintings, music. ChatGPT is just another way of curating ideas and getting your brain moving when you're starting to map out concepts for your book. Finding characters for your novel. Again, this isn't normally something I'd need help with, but I decided to speak to the robots anyway. I asked, can you list some character biography examples for a smart-mouthed protagonist with personality flaws but a good heart? Some great ideas here, but they were a little broad, so I zoomed in on one idea, the Maverick.
This protagonist is a lone wolf, always going against the grain and challenging convention. Though she can be frustratingly independent and difficult to work with, she has a deep sense of integrity and a desire to do what's right. Then I asked the robots to describe the protagonist's physical and mental makeup for option 10.
And here's what came back. Again, nothing particularly original here, but there were some great elements both in terms of appearance and character. I tried to give this protagonist a little more originality, but didn't give any clear details to the robots. Could you give her some more original features? Now this is where I think AI starts to reach its limits. When you're looking to curate information, the most common examples or popular trends, this sort of AI chatbot is fantastic. If you're looking to come up with ideas in an area that you're not familiar with, this might be a great place to start. But if you're looking for originality, a new twist on old tropes, or something genuinely fresh, you're going to struggle. Unless you can be very specific with ChatGPT, it'll be difficult to get past cliches and common tropes. And let's face it, if you're already doing the work of thinking originally to provide the right prompts to the AI, you probably don't need ChatGPT for this. Does it save time? Possibly, if you're struggling with filling out the details of a particular character and you're not too stressed about originality. Will this help me do something I don't really want to do? Not in my case, but for a new writer or someone struggling to fill out a cast of ancillary characters, this might help. Do I feel that this is taking something away from the craft of writing? If it was more inventive and original, I'd say it might be taking something away from writers. But as we can see from this example, the robots lean too heavily toward well-worn character types. Coming up with character names. Now it's time for a confession. You see, I have a problem with names. The problem? I find one I like and then I get fixated on it. I use it for 3 or 4 different characters in different books over a couple of years, and then once the books are out, readers are left thinking, is this the same person? Is there some weird connection between this Western horror novel and Quaid's Enmity series? Did this character just change universes? Or is this a crossover book and I just didn't realize it? For me, being able to come up with a range of great character names is something I'm very, very interested in. I decided to start with traditional fantasy and see what the robots could come up with. What are some good character names for an epic fantasy novel which takes place in a steampunk society? And here's what they came back with. Outstanding. Percival Copperpot? Are you kidding me? Esmeralda Colborne? These are fantastic. Perfect for a steampunk fantasy adventure, a children's story, comic book characters, or a novel. Amazing. But let's be honest, this is the low-hanging fruit. Let's try for something a little more nuanced and see how the robots do. What are good character names for a brooding supernatural horror novel? And there we have it. It turns out ChatGPT is a bit of a fantasy nut. It loves the overdrawn epic fantasy names, but it doesn't do so well when you're looking for something a little more subtle. But maybe I just need to make my setting a little more mundane. What are some good character names for a modern horror novel? Okay, so that's not too bad. A good mix with some mildly interesting combinations, but nothing too over the top. But let's say I want an especially interesting name for my protagonist, and I'm writing a post-apocalyptic survival novel. Come on, robots, don't let me down. I don't think we can be friends anymore. Blade Hunter? Nova Frost? What if I was writing a book based on a Burger King restaurant? Cheesy McBeef Burger? Fries Chicken Salt? Actually, let's give it a go. What are some great character names for a story which takes place in a Burger King restaurant? Unbelievable. Jack Whopper is your first pick? Jack Whopper? What would Patty Mayo have to say about that, I wonder? Okay, so I'm done asking for character names because this has gone downhill very fast. Does it save time? Yes, if you're looking for names like Cheesy McBacon or Angus Beef, absolutely it'll save time. Will this help me do something I don't really want to do? I really want to say yes, but except for over-the-top style stories, I really don't think this is going to cut the mustard. Oh yeah, Colonel Mustard. That was another one. Do I feel this is taking something away from the craft of writing? I can say with absolute confidence that writers all over the world are completely safe when it comes to naming their characters. Coming up with a title for your novel. So here I'm going to use a real-life example and see how we go. I've got a novel going through final edits at the moment and I still haven't come up with a decent title for it. Can you give me some novel title ideas for an urban fantasy novel involving a protagonist named Willow Graves? The book has fey creatures, dark magic, and fast-paced action. Okay, these aren't great, but they do have a very clear urban fantasy fey magic vibe. I decided to refine my search by adding in another element of the story. Try the same thing, but with the word breach in the title somewhere. Immediately, two of these options were much closer to the mark. Breach of Shadows, a Willow Graves adventure, and Breaching the Veil, a Willow Graves also adventure. This seems like a great way to workshop book title ideas, and I'm already leaning towards a few options. Unlike the character names debacle, having a title of your book which is less original isn't necessarily a bad thing, particularly if you're writing genre fiction. Readers of specific genres will be drawn to titles which use words that they're familiar with, phrases that bring to mind the kinds of ideas that they're attracted to. So using ChatGPT to workshop title ideas works well because most of the options it presents will be drawn from popular examples. Does it save time? Yes. Will this help me do something I don't really want to do? Yes, I don't mind coming up with book titles, but trying to find something which will work in a new genre I'm not familiar with takes time and effort, something that I'd prefer to spend writing. Do I feel this is taking something away from the craft of writing? No. In the end, I'm going to make the final decision on the title, and I've had to be fairly specific anyway to steer ChatGPT in the right direction. Industry research. One of the most neglected aspects of writing is industry research. As writers, we devote the bulk of our time coming up with great stories, compelling characters, and continually working on our craft. When we have time to, we'll promote ourselves as authors or market our books, but the last thing we typically consider is industry research. And that makes sense. We're creatives, we build worlds, not corporate empires. But knowing your prospective audience is vital to being a successful writer, as is knowing your competition, understanding what readers of your genre expect, what titles and covers work well, which book types sell best, and so on. Specifically, there are three main areas where some industry research will help you target an audience and likely sell more books. First, your title. Second, your book cover. And third, your book blurb. These are the first three things any reader is likely to see when they come across your work. So getting these things right is paramount if you want to convince readers to buy your book and start reading. Holy popsicles, Batman! A short list of bestsellers with title details, a short description, and the author's name? It took the robots 10 seconds to come up with this, and I can't help but wonder how long I would have spent manually scouring the internet and putting this together myself. Bravo, ChatGPT. Bravo. Okay, so how do the best-selling writers in this genre write their blurbs? Please curate book blurbs from the first book of the best-selling urban fantasy Fey Magic novels. And now it really does feel like I've got an AI intern working for Quaid Enterprises. Quick as a flash, the blurbs from competing books in the genre my new novel sits in are presented for my viewing pleasure. And I'm beginning to see how you could save yourself hours and hours of research time with a tool like ChatGPT. What I've seen so far is great, but when you start to dig into the specifics of the publishing industry beyond identifying simple trends and gathering competitor information, the robots tend to struggle. For example, if I search for the best way to market my novels, I get the standard list of tools, services, and advice found all over the internet. The search results end with a very measured conclusion.
Ultimately, the most effective tool for selling novels will depend on a range of factors, including the author's marketing budget, target audience, and the specific goals of the book's promotion.
Well, yeah. Does it save time? Absolutely. Will this help me do something I really don't want to do? Yes, I think this would be an invaluable tool for writers to conduct research in certain areas. Do I feel this is taking something away from the craft of writing? Well, just the stuff I don't want to do anyway. But one final thought on this. Under the right circumstances, ChatGPT makes a great research assistant, but it's not going to sell your books for you or come up with an inventive and tailored marketing strategy for your next novel. Beating writer's block. We've already seen how the robots can help in coming up with novel ideas, but how does it perform when you're stuck partway through a novel and you can't find your way through? Frankly, I'm dubious, because most writer's block issues relate to intricate plot dilemmas, and I don't know that ChatGPT is going to help you be able to get unstuck without spending a huge amount of time explaining the novel premise, character arcs, plot complexities, and so on. We'll start with an easy example. I'm stuck at the midpoint of my novel. My main character is facing a powerful god figure who has the ability to create matter out of nothing. My protagonist is a sorcerer, but they aren't strong enough to defeat the villain. How can I end this confrontation between my sorcerer protagonist and the evil god? And here's the response. Okay, so fairly generic, but not altogether unhelpful. I can't really see this getting me out of my bind, but there are some solid ideas there that might eventually provide a way forward. But if I've got a choice between discussing my book with a human and calling on the robots for support, I think I'm going to go for the first option. Does it save time? Probably not. If you're struggling to get out of a story bind, there are much more effective ways of pushing through than relying on fairly generic advice from a chatbot. Will this help me do something I don't really want to do? It might help, but it won't solve the problem for you. Do I feel that this is taking something away from the craft of writing? Definitely not. The story is yours, the block is yours, and ultimately you're the one that will need to find a way through. So there we have it, the almost ultimate guide to using ChatGPT as a writer. Now, admittedly, it wasn't an ultimate guide, because I could spend weeks digging through everything that ChatGPT has to offer and refining my list of benefits. But who's got time for that? I've got books to write. Now, let me know in the comments if you use AI to help you as a writer. And if you want to learn how to build a better villain, check this out.